Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are finally going to go over some spoilers. I know I did a spoiler video, I talked about some spoilers, but I haven't really done a breakdown, especially running Gallery, the spoiler website. I've yet to do any spoiler review myself, and we're going to go ahead and break down some of these cards. Cards I think is going to be really interesting, cards we want to see, might be meta defining, and we'll go from there. So we are recording this as the most recent spoilers have dropped. So we have Carnival Season, Temperamental Sage, and Spellshell Terra. Briefly talking, I think Spellshell Terra is going to be an interesting card to run into the Kongming decks, especially because of the fact that you can pair it with something like Crawl. With Crawl, that you can go ahead and get Preserve cards, play the cost, and Crawl can resolve on the field. You don't have to worry about its on attack ability because that is a class bonus for Tamer. You should have enough Preserve cards to cast in other form, shapes, or ways. So I think keep an eye out for Spellshell Terra and Crawl decks that maybe pop up with the Kongming. But we're going to go ahead then going into, I think Jin is going to be pretty much the new defining on-enter warrior deck, especially running allies. You have a lot of ways you can combo out with these Jin decks. You have Jin Defiant, which goes and gives you a +1 attack on the turn. You have the Zealous Maverick, which should go ahead and give you on-enter next attack give +1 till, next attack turn is +1, and then on attack wake him up, which should be really good. You have a lot of ways to attack in this deck. We'll go over that very shortly. Then you have stuff like if you run Sundering Moon can go ahead, and if you control more wind element, Sundering Moon is +1 attack on that sphere. Then it can prevent one to return to your hand. So there's a lot of different interactions that can come on out with Jin decks. I think Jin is probably the new staple allies deck, especially if it is a staple aggro deck, especially in the warrior line. Lorraine might be even play a little bit, but I think Jin's going to be the new staple line. Going into the Kongming line, Kongming is very interesting. I'm still waiting to see more coming out of her. I like the shifting currents mastery. I like the entire game plan with Empower. I'm not really sold in level 3 fully yet. I'm not 100% there yet. I don't know if I'm going to get another level 3. We still have to figure out how that's going to work and to see so I can really judge this a little bit more. There's some interesting lines because you have the, if you're scrolling down all the way to the bottom here. I think I broke an image. I'll fix that after. Scrolling down the bottom here, we have a couple of different cards. We have the Leeching Bolt, which can go ahead and deal level damage. We cover 2, and then if it's empowered, you may put in materials like as preserve, so you get to cast it again another time later on. Yeah, Planar Abyss, but I think I need more of a closing out game plan to work a little bit better in the Kongming decks, especially with how that game plan is going to sort of flush out with Empower right now. I'm still loving the URs in this set, though. The URs have been great. Imperial is a very interesting Divine Relic. I'll basically mention name for your the turns of Fire, Water, and Wind are basic elements. So you could run this in, say, Water Merlin, Imperial Slip Up, and run Fireballs. You could run a couple of different lines, I think, with this deck. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. But I'm not going to spill too much beans on what I think is going to be brewing with it. I got my own team that's practicing, so I can't spill too many beans on what's happening here in the background. You have Mandating Arm, which is pretty cool. Each player draws 8 or more influence, can't draw cards. Almost like acting like a Terra Frank, but a little bit more compact because of the fact you have a unique ally and it requires an influence of 8 or more from each player. From each player that has 8 or more influence, can't draw a card. They're really interesting. See? Dragon's Dawn and Sundering Moon, 2 amazing URs. The art's great. I can't wait to see these in full. Acolyte Cultivation, which is very you have as long as activate spell card is turned, this card is activated, becomes a 1-drop 2/3 for Cleric Mage. Not sold on it. I mean, if you want to run Mage allies, but I'm not 100% sure how well it's going to work out. Bring down the Mighty here until in turn next target ally can't attack. So if you're worried about some big allies, it's not really that good though because you get to draw a card in the memory, but it's unique. But most decks are coming out during their turn, so the slow doesn't really help unless it's the only ally they have. Then you may be able to set up a little bit better. But I'm not entirely sold that this is going to be sort of the main game plan that you're going to be resolving around to go ahead and slow down allied decks. One of my own spoilers, Target +3, you can really get some interesting lines with this. You can do it with your interceptors, you can attack the interceptors, and restand them with something like Cavalier Rescue, which is really cool. We have Cure the Flesh, we talk about removal temporary damage, target ally, draw a card in the memory. Not bad, let's see how it plays out. Extraction Incision, another card that has True Sight, then it's on kill for preparation counter your champion. So pretty much resolving around almost like a Thieving Cut, but in reverse in a sense. Heavenly Guide are one of our new guides, which is so the way this works is that if your opponent decides a dungeon guide to level 3 and you are level 2, you can then play this ally during your turn, and then you get to go ahead and level up yourself. So almost like a dungeon guide, but a little bit cheaper on the stat line, but does have a little more restrictions because you have to be a level 2 on enter to use it. Mercenaries is a card called if your opponent has one or more allies. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of the cards in memory, put the other on the bottom of your deck. Pretty cool. I think it's going to help Tamer decks out a little bit because you can go ahead and use it to put one into your hand. You don't have to worry about getting a boost on an ally, so these Tamer decks can really start filtering out a little bit better for their dungeon guides. Because you see Blissful Callings, you can go ahead and see Gather Slimes, you see Dungeon Guide in top 5, you can't grab it because Ally or Beast, and your Dungeon Guides to go to the bottom of your deck. This will probably be coming in instead now, maybe over Blissful Calling. This costs 1 less, or sometimes 2. But you get to go and look at the top 2 cards and filter out a little bit more to what you want with the Glimpse too. Idlephos is reprint. Idolescent Leisure is a draw card into your memory. Pretty cool card, pretty staple card. I think most Mage decks are going to be running this overall. Incentive Instruction, not a bad card. Target ally plus 3 attack. Pretty much going to go into your ally's deck. If you throw a non-human ally, draw a card in memory for a class 1 Tamer. Again, not too bad. Probably might see a little bit of play in ally heavy decks. Same thing with Lead the Force. Lost Wisdom, I'm not sold on Lost Wisdom. I'm really not right now. We would have to see a little more how that works out, honestly. Limerick Seeds a Horse. Mnemonic Charm is pretty much going to be a staple in all Mage and Cleric decks. It's pretty much Forest Cake, but for Mage and Cleric. I don't see a reason why Mage and Cleric won't fit this in their decks. You get to on to draw a card in memory, replacing itself. You have a sacrifice and power too. I don't see why you wouldn't be running this deck in a deck at all. Mortal Ambitions, another cool UR. I can't really speak too much of this deck. I'm not too sure how it's going to work, but pretty cool. Here's some Mystic Purifiers, here's some others. I'm going to pretty much skip through some of these here at this point. Maybe go over some cards that might be a little bit interesting. I like how we have Created Shock reprints, Fireball reprints, Flame Moon Sword reprints. This is like a 3rd or 4th Flame Moon Swordman version. But Fireball and Created Shock are very well needed reprints, especially Created Shock. It's pretty much $1 to $2 common or uncommon at this point because it is only in DOA. So the fact that you have it now being a common A and B is a really good entry for the starters to go ahead, or new players to go ahead and get into the game and have some of these staple cards that are used versions of decks. You have some cool cards like Heated Vengeance, which is a really cool art. On gem, take damage this turn, you get plus 3 attack, and now attack you can have it deal 3 damage to your champion. So you get to go ahead and activate it, attack, and then get plus 3 attack, so you have the plus 5. You have the Gate of Sun's Ascendant. Whenever your unit goes attack, deal 2 damage to it. So pretty much a way to deal with maybe ally decks a little bit if you're fire. Very interesting because a lot of the unit stats are X3s in ally decks, so I'm not sure what's going to come into play, but we have to see. Get some good retaliations up with something like Steadfast or Ambush. Interfates, Lava Soul Tiger. I can't remember what this card is. I'm going to have to fix that after and figure out what that card is missing here. Sword Pinnacle, Sword Saint, Thunderclap. I'm not going to break down too much of these here. Just going over some interesting cards that I sort of like at this point. I mean, Tidal Lock is a pretty cool version of Frostbind, pretty good. And for clerics, or if anything, if you're playing a water version of a deck, you have 3 more or less water cards in there. You can go ahead and pretty much get it for 1 cost Frostbind, which is always awesome to have. You have Ouiju of Lingering Fate, which is another cool. It deals 2-3 damage to target ally you don't control. And then if your shifting currents changes, you may sacrifice. If you do play outright, you get the mill of your opponent. Running the Wind, you have some pretty insane cards at this point. I mean, I think you have the cool Cynical Breeze, which gets you go ahead and recycle a wind card. You have 3 visits, which has 3 activations for Glimpse 2, Recover 2. So you pretty much Glimpse 6, Recover 6, which is awesome. I think this card is really going to be really good in any Wind Mage deck or Wind Cleric deck because it's pretty much just going to be a staple, a 0-cost card. We're going to see what interaction can happen with this. And you have Counter Season, which was interesting. That was just spoiled recently. If damage will be dealt to Counter Seasons while your shifting current is facing west, prevent 2 damage to it, so it stays alive. That's also an on-attack trigger if its current is facing east. Recover 1 and draw a card in your memory. So you get a way to pretty much replace itself, recover 1, and sort of try and extend your gameplay a little bit, especially because you have the Kongbing level 3, which every time you cast a mage spell, you get to go ahead and shift your currents. You have some of the Mental Sage, which has Preserve when it dies. As on attack, you may recover 3 if you don't empower 3. So a good way to recover or power up your spells. And pretty much trying to make Mage be a little more of an ally-heavy deck as a whole, which is really interesting to see. And we have Special Jump we talked about before. We have Jin Undying Resolve, which this card is absolutely bonkers in my opinion. The fact that until your end phase, it has immortality. So it's 28 damage you have to deal with. It's already hard to do. You have to overkill, force overkill it. And then this deck has a lot of ways to heal. I mean, you have something like Men Flesh, which go ahead and recover 8 for 2. If you're already above 25 damage, you get to pay 0. So it's already on itself going to be a recover 8 if you're in lethal range. You have something like Enrage, which deals 4 unpreventable. You have cards like Relentless Outburst, which on turn target champion would take much damage, take much damage plus 1 instead. I mean, the idea of Jin is cool. I'm just not a fan of the playstyle. I think Jin's going to be really awesome. I think the design path of Jin is really, really cool. I think it might be interesting for the game, but we have to sort of see how that plays out. And then going into some other ones that we have here in the comics that we revealed, this is our shifting currents. I really like the art. I like this very unique token. So it's very interesting to see how this ends up going. I imagine, like myself, I'm just going to tap shifting currents to tell which direction we're in. We might see some custom dice that come out later on. We have our crystal empowerment on a stick, or not on a stick, our nerf version, which is banish Sword of Empowerment and get empowered 2 for mage crystals. So you can't be abused anymore by warriors at this point. It's only used for spells, so you can't have any more Lorraine decks that are going to run Crystal Empowerment to get level 2 quickly and then play a Banner Knight. You have your Legion Bows talked about before and your Planar Abyss, and we saw some cool new spoilers come out. We have the Terraframe, which is going to be happening during Revel Fest, so make sure you get your games in Revel Fest. That's going to happen near the beginning of October, I'm pretty sure. 200 lucky people will get selected to win this cool promo. And you have our new promos come out for the next season, which is Blazing Though and Backup Charger. And then you have the new Spirit of Water, which is going to be used, I think, Ascent December, which is now Ascent Santa Claire, with a really cool Spirit of Water prize card. But with that being said, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, I'm going to break this a very short video because of the fact that we're just going to go over spoilers and we're going to go over some of the interaction facts of that. So that being said, I hope everyone has a good one, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.